Sorry.
So we understand that these people, like I said, they were disenfranchised, and so they got into power by ways of money, right? Then you also have to understand. So when we look very plainly, very simply, West Africa used cowrie shells as a means of currency. The Orishas use cowrie shells as a means of dilagoons. That is their mouth. Orumila does not have dilagoons. He has palm nuts. So it is safe to say that there was a change of currency that happened in West Africa due to the production of palm oil, because palm nuts became the thing that Ifa was so sacred. Correct?
Yeah, yeah, and also that actually talks about the also not only the dynamic of uh, of of finances, but also the male and female relationship because only men could actually read.
And originally, the Orisha culture were matriarchal. You understand?
Very matriarchal, yes, and so that was the switch. That whole switch of currency became what made like it
So
less.
you got to imagine that the people who were sent to places like Cuba and Brazil might have been people of royal lineages. There's a coup d'etat that's happening, right?
Makes a lot of sense in even America. And that is why when we came over here, we were able to build everything because I knew it was something that made us special. I was like, how if we're not the like people they sent over all the best people. You know what I'm saying? How is it that you're not developed over there? You sent your best people over here.
No, because they betrayed us. So there's a name that they give to a Rumila and Ifa and Yoruba land. They call him Agbomirere. Now, when we understand the language, Agbo is a ram, and the ram within Yoruba philosophy and folklore is a traitor. Okay, he is the symbol of treachery and betrayal. So that Oya does not eat ram because he betrayed her. Okay.
Wow. Makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Okay. So now, when you look at the fact that so much so that this whatever this betrayal was, it was so deep that the women in Brazil did not initiate a man for 150 years when they after they got the thing going.
Wow. So the women were the ones who actually got everything going over here.
They proliferated everything, and this is why the idea of female Ifa is a misnomer, because that would say that those women, what did they forget that Orumila? Did they forget that they had access to Ifa? That's not possible. They proliferated
No,
every other Orisha.
and then they say, "Oh, okay, well, you can't see Ifa because Ifa, the wife of Ifa, or what was it?
Well,
Odu.
Odu. So okay, this is a very simple concept. Odu is a woman. That plate that the Babalaos sit between their laps is a replication of the womb, of God's womb. That tapper that he has in his hand is a phallus. It's Eshu's dick. So every time they tap that shit on the side of the thing, they are stimulating the walls of God, and she tells them something through pillow talk. Okay? Now, women, because men are external, I can look down in my penis, whether it's flaccid or hard, I can see it. Women cannot see their own vagina. So if you put a mirror to it, it's backwards. If you look down at it, it's upside down. So you're not seeing it as it is. And so this is why women were effectively taken out of Ifa, because it would be in vain for you to worship yourself. You got that?
Okay, it's vain to worship yourself.
Yes, because even if a woman, so let's just say hypothetically, and this is
I
no
wanted to get like
disrespect.
a visualization. I don't know who this white guy is, but I mean,
So
of the actual. I don't think that's a
okay, so now, no disrespect to any women that practice women on woman love, but a woman with a strap on will never know what it feels like with the strap on. She can never really truly manipulate it, because there is a reciprocation between a man's penis and a woman's vagina, so that there's certain things that her vagina will do that his penis will receive. So if you got something fake in there, you can't receive that reciprocation, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So let's say that. I'm gonna give it to you real raw.
So Ianifa would almost be like a gay woman trying to like
For
put a
what? Listen
dildo
to me.
into a
It's not
vagina.
even no. It's not even that. So a cowrie shell. When you look at a cowrie shell, it looks like the exterior of a woman's vagina. Yes.
Absolutely. And you know what? All this stuff like is about
Okay. So now,
sex.
with that being said, one woman can manipulate another woman's vagina externally. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's say that the ikim, the palm nuts, are God's ovaries.
Right.
You can't see that.
Can't see it.
But I have a one-eyed jack that can go into the triple darkness and find those seeds and give them something.
Okay. And then
That is the concept of E5.
Wow.
So that women can divine Dilagoon because they can manipulate a woman externally, but they cannot manipulate a woman internally.
Right. So Ifa is for men because they could like actually be able to get into the womb. They use the womb to be able to extract the information using.
The word.
But I heard that
the word "fa" means to scrape.
Huh.
So again, we put the E in front of it. Isheshe, Ibaye, Ifa. Holy scraping. So like I said, he says something, he taps the side of the plate, and that is to instigate or manipulate God to speak to him.
And God is a womb.
Yes, because Odu is a womb. God is the one who owns that womb. We don't know if it's the woman or the man who owns it. We don't know. And it's not our business.
Right.
So understanding that fa means to scrape. Ifa is the action. It's the verb. The babalao is the noun.
Wow. Okay.
So
Ian Ifa, do they get a Pele? I know Ian Ifa they
listen,
get
I don't even investigate into it because again I understand the concepts of Ifa and I understand that there was politics that allowed this because so look at the Yorubas are very simple. They have very clear lines of equality. Iyatobi, Babatobi. Mother who gave birth to me, father who gave birth to me. Right? Iyalosha, Babalosha. Mother who gave me Ocha, father who gave me Ocha. Babalawo, Iyanifa don't have the same thing. It would be Iyalawo, would it not?
Makes sense, yeah. Iyalawo, yeah.
So, because of the politics of the world today, they were forced because they like the money. Because why not? There's more people.
So they made the Ianifa thing just to be able to make money to initiate women.
It's the same thing that they said about the United States. They sent women to work so that they could tax 2 people in the household.
Wow.
So if you, went through all the Bible hours, girls, you want to get some E5? Well, come on. And there's more women than there is men, is there not?
Yes, there is.
All right then. So this is we understand. So like, if you go on my Patreon, I have a video where I interviewed John Mason, and I asked him. I said, Baba, what do you think about the E5 insurgency? He says, and I quote, "That's a good word for that, insurgency, because that's exactly what it is." He said, in conclusion, he said, when they found out that black folks had money, they came with a full court press. Okay? So I have no contempt for Nigerians. I have contempt for black people who go over there and then they come back and try to tell me that they got something better than I do. And I'd be like, you late.
You late. Right.
Right? Because you went and purchased an abacus. I got an iPhone. You bugging. I'm gonna get to these questions way faster than you. Because while you go over there, because what happens is that E5 that's over there, it has not progressed. It has not seen the world.
And they only give you just your head and whatever exactly you need at that time. They don't give you everything because of the fact
that's not their custom. Again, this is something that comes out of local me. See, because we understand that we require the culmination of the gods. We require to see it takes all the pixels to see the picture, correct?
Absolutely.
So I don't have to just subject myself to, because again, the Orishas are capricious. They will turn their back on you. So if
Mm.
Shango don't want to talk to me, I got Obatala to talk to. I got Yemonja. I got Oshun. I got
Right.
Oya. I got you. I got Ogun, Legba. I'll be like, oh, you ain't talking to me today? He's like, nah, get out of here. I'm like, all right, I got somebody else to go to.
Right. Okay. Exactly.
Right?
And you know what too is now I'm not sure. I sent you the actual debate I did with the Hebrew Israelites when I talked about the is Ephah versus Torah, and I talked about how all the Orisha actually connect to parts of the body. That it's not just a matter of us only about the head or the feet. It's about like each Orisha represents a part of our body. Each Orisha represents like okay, like Oshun, Oshun would be considered the circulatory system. The Ogun is the blood. Yemaya is the each Orisha has an actual aspect of the actual body, and then each Odu represents a part of the body and a herb that you can use to heal a part of the body, and then the color and all these other things.
Well,
So
see, the thing is, we haven't even opened up all of the different chambers to Orisha. That there's a whole pharmacopoeia thing that we haven't even delved into, right? But the problem is, see, like I show in my book, right? So I gotta show the people. I gotta show the people. And glass of water, the candle.
yes,
I
please
talk
get that
about.
book. Please get that book.
I talk about the fact that if you heard this concept of somebody else, I promise you they was picking my lots. This is written in my book, and this is the first time anybody can really articulate this so that they can have nothing to say. If you believe in Jesus, if you believe in Abraham, Levi, Buddha, Muhammad, if you believe they lived and they died, you are following a dead ancestor. Period.
Yep. I opened my whole like debate with that. I said, yeah.
Right? So you are worshiping an ancestor. If Jesus Christ, if you believe he lived and died, he's an ancestor. That same goes for Muhammad, Abraham, whoever. Siddhartha, all of them. If you believe they lived and died, they are ancestors. So what we're doing here is the most ultimate ancestral veneration, because inside my altar is a stone and a cowrie shell. And when you can tell me what's older than that, I'll quit. Because ain't nothing older than a rock on this planet. And so the rock and the cowrie shell, this is why when Ifa tries to profess its antiquity, I'm like, that's not possible, because there was a cowrie shell walking on the bottom of the ocean way before there was ever a palm tree. In order for there to be a palm tree, it had to be land. The land came because of Batala brought that, not Illumina.
Yes.
Right?
Wow.
And so the idea, see, one of the most important things that one needs to understand is that God don't live inside you, you live inside God. God is
Mm.
the ocean and you are the fish. And the spirit is the current that influences you to go a certain way, but you can go any way you like.
But the macrocosm also equal out to the microcosm, right?
Certainly. So that if we really wanted to get into some biblical texts about what the Hebrew Israelites, I could go and tell them that the real Garden of Eden is in the ocean.
Uh-oh. What?
The real Garden of Eden is in the ocean. Nobody starves in the ocean. There's nothing that ever starved in the ocean, and ain't nobody died of thirst in the ocean.
Mm.
When you come out of the ocean, everything, including insects and bacteria, they all are going back looking for the water, because the water is the nurturing part that gave you life.
Mommy water.
So God don't live inside you, you live inside God, because God is the omnipotence and omnipresence of everything. So that
Mm.
the reason that we do not have a shrine or a receivable Olodumare is because what would you not put in there?
Everything, right?
You gotta have to put the disease in there. You're gonna have to put all the bad stuff, all the good stuff. You don't have enough to fill it. So this is why if you go to there's a museum in Havana, the Yoruba Museum, and if you go there, they have in their exhibit they have one part where it's just a white sheet hanging from the ceiling, and they say this is the only thing that can represent a little bit.
Wow. And is that why it's the priest of the white cloth? Is that why they have like
Oh,
the
well, about the lie is that veil between us and God that you will never see, right? So we have 256 Odu, yes.
yes.
If you add four more, you get what? 260, right?
Yep.
Then you add another 100% to that, and you get what?
256?
You get 360.
360, right.
Right. So
I'm terrible at math.
a hundred, right? And 100. So for 260 degrees of that's man, that's what we have access to. The
200.
other 100% is the perfection of God, because God is 100%. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we don't get to see that 100%. We can only see the 260.
Right. Okay.
Oh, batala. So, like, for instance, if you go to a ceremony and they got the sheet up, right, and you looking in the sheet and you see the shadows of the people, right, you might think you know what's going on in there, right?
Yeah.
Right, but we've done seen what's that? What's the guy's name? Austin Powers. In the Austin Powers movies, they always show a part where they be behind the screen and you think that the racket is coming out his ass, but it ain't. Well, that is
Right.
the idea that Obatala is the veil between us and God. That there's always going to be a mystery because you can't see what you're in. Again, if you're inside God, how you gonna see?
Right. And that is the whole concept of Oludumare. Is like there is with us, and then there's the part that's unknown and we don't even know about. We don't even think about it. It was too. It's beyond.
Olo, Odu, Mare, the owner of Odu that we return to. So they're talking about a womb that everybody was born from, that everybody will return to. And we could go etymologically because the word for Oshu Mare is the colors that come and go back, right? So Mare is the suffix that says something about going and returning. Olo means the owner. Olo Kun, the owner of the ocean. Olo Rum, the owner of the sky. So Olo is that one has dominion over something. Odu is the darkness and the blackness of space. So the owner of the blackness that we will all return to is what the description of really what Olodumare refers to.
You know the weird thing that I came up with when I was talking to my Queen Tai yesterday. I said, "Listen, I said that darkness, because you have like the Genesis, you have darkness, then you have sound, then there became light."
Right, but you have to understand that the Irum Malays were here before there was light. That's what their name means. Irum Malay. Malay means nighttime. Ale. Irum is the sacred part of heaven. Orun is heaven. Irum Malay. These are things that existed before there was a light in heaven, before there wasn't even a consciousness. You understand?
Darkness existed, so those things existed in darkness before it ever existed in light.
Before God professed itself.
Wow. And see, the thing is that all this stuff is what they're doing is when they're going to the Hadron Collider and trying to fool with that, fooling around with dark matter.
Well,
To,
what they're doing right now is they're creating a new reality based on 5G. The 5G is creating a dome over the planet right now that is a magnetic dome that will not allow the things from the heavens to penetrate through, and so that these phones will be able to display and control you based on this 5G bubble that they've created. Because they say when you look at the 5G bubble, it has the attributes of the flower of life in it, right? So they're creating an alternative reality. You understand?
that makes sense because they what they said they're going to create like a golden dome over America and then there's an iron dome over Israel. That makes sense. Okay, I mean, listen.
So understand that. So like I said, people will get a bad idea about me because I'm very vocal and I'm very adamant and orthodox, right? I don't have issue with Nigeria. I come from a very Pan Africanist background. My family, we was doing Kwanzaa when all that shit wasn't cool. So I'm very clear and understand where Orisha come from. That's not the issue. My issue is that fact there are people who now decide. So what happens is there's people and they be like, oh, I want to come to the Lukumi dance class. And I'm like, but don't you got Isheshe?
Right, go to the Isheshe then.
Right, but because there is not. And so with all of the things that you like, all the aesthetics that you like it without the Spanish shit. But you dare not say that shit about the people in Haiti because most of that shit that they be speaking is French. But you don't have a problem
Ooh.
with that because you dare not tell them that they not African because they too black for you.
Ooh.
The idea is that you think that Ricky Ricardo is the ideal Cuban, but when you get over there, you see all the black niggas over there, and you're like, oh,
hey, the
nah.
black is night. Black
Right,
is
and then you
night.
see that the white boys that be over here talking all that fly shit, when they get over there, they're not in control of any of the ceremonies. Let's get that correct.
I just had to do that because you just ate that up. What?
No, it's the truth. And not to say, like, one of my professors was an old white man. He was an old white Cuban, but he had a certain amount of humility. One day we were talking, and he was like, yo, they be inviting me to these conferences. He says, I don't be wanting to talk. I'm too white. Right? But he had, if you went in his house, you remember those Budweiser posters with all the kings and queens of Africa? He had that shit all around his house. And he tell you in a minute, this is an African religion. Don't get it twisted. So that when the newbies would come with some new invented stuff, and they be like, oh, and they got the glasses of water with it. He'd be like, they didn't have no glasses of water in Africa. What y'all talking about? Right? And here's a man that he dedicated his life to this because he came from good money. He could have went and been a doctor. He didn't want to do that. He said, I want to hang out with the Africans, learn this thing. And since he was 17. So when I was studying under this man, he was approaching 70-something years of initiation. Right? He was made in 1944. So I don't really get to arguing with people today when they be telling me, oh, I'm like, yo, bro, you Johnny come lately, because I promise you I know some people that had Ultra before your grandparents was probably born. Right? Then I have to give shout out to my other Egum, my second mother, Beatrice Adley. She made Ultra in 1965, a black woman. 1965 is the same year they killed Malcolm.
Wow. So this is not something, and then we have, listen, when it really comes down
it's a
to
secret society. So this is what happens. This is why it's so funny when the neophytes get up there and they start talking about in Orisha, and they had this was around you like some Harry Potter shit that you didn't know it existed. I have people that come and clients, they'll come and get a reading. The first time they get a reading, they see me, and then they come back and they go, yo, there's a lady in my building that do what you do. I'm like, oh yeah, you know. Yo, she got the yellow and green beads. Man, you've been living in this building for 20 years. You didn't know what the fuck she was doing. So don't tell me that you know anything. You don't know shit. Because there was a whole world existing that you did not even know existed. So what you need to do is humble yourself and sit down and absorb all of this so that you can give it to your children so that your grandchildren will be a part of this without having to be converted.
What is the importance of initiation?
Because initiation, so everybody running around here talking about Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Everything has Ashe in it. But the Ashe that's inside you must be activated. And it has to be activated through this process that we do called Kari Ocho, that Ikwakwa. So I could give you a book and I could give you 4 pieces of coconut and a rock, and you could sit there and throw all day to that shit. And that shit is just how you throw coconuts all day. But if you don't have what's called Ashe, then you can't ask the right questions to get the answers that you require. So this Ashe thing, yeah, it's in everything. But it's like people be like, yo, well, I could tap into Obatala. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but you don't know Obatala. So when this thing shows up, you have no reference to what Obatala is. So it's like being in the park and you waiting for the person, the other spot. So everybody that walk by, you like, yo, pink elephants? Somebody gonna sit down and be like, yeah, pink elephants. Tell me more. And I'm like, oh, so you're the guy, right? Yeah, I'm the guy. Just give it to me. Right? I just gave it to some other country just now, to another spy. Because I never was introduced to the spy. So how am I going to know who he is if I wasn't introduced to him? Because you're talking about something that you're looking at through a literal context and some picture, right, that you got in your mind. But that's not what he looked like. And you have to be able to tell that because it's a feeling. So when you feel it, I can tell you the difference between Shango and Obatala Yemo and Jawa Shun because there are different feelings that I've had to go through. You don't know that.
Yeah.
So the neophyte be like, oh, and I got me some pennies, and I'm divining, and I'm reading people, and I'm like, all right. So now you don't even know. This is the biggest one. This is the biggest one. So all the spiritualists be like, oh, Spirit told me. to tell you. I'll be like, what's the spirit name? You'll be like, huh? I'm like, you asking something that you don't have an identification for. You don't have a relationship with this thing. You can't tell whether it's in the room or not. This is the problem with a Ouija board. I'd be like, is this Abraham? You'd be like, yeah. What you got for me? Because I don't know what the feeling is that comes with it. So that if I know that every time I light the candle and a certain spirit come in, the candle get blown out. I'm like, oh. Without saying it, I know that these are little nuances that spirit's going to bring. So now one day when I'm doing the thing and I'm like, hey, is this the spirit? And the candle's just burning. I could be like, nah, he ain't here. Because I have a context for it. Right? So the problem with everybody, this is an oral tradition. You cannot take what is oral literal, period. That's my new slogan. You cannot take what is oral literal. You understand?
Yeah, because it changes between ears, right?
Absolutely. So the story that somebody tell one person, he don't got to tell them all the details. He don't got to tell them there was cupcakes cooking in the oven because they're not involved. They're not interested in that. They need to know the whens and the whys, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody that I tell the apatiki to, some people gonna get all the extra shit. They're gonna be like, yeah, and I'm gonna be like, trying to go put on his Jordans and boom, 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 because they need that. They need that to relate to them.
Some people you just say, listen, Shango said this, and that's it.
Listen, I put my God children through a test because I get possessed, right? Don't tell me, oh, I think I saw Shango. No. Understand that there is a feeling. There is an inertia that is almost climactic. It is better than the best orgasm you ever felt or you could ever gain. That energy is so overwhelming that there has to be some type of residuals from it. So just like when you go into a realm, there has to be some type of residual for it, right? So if I sit in the water for 3 to 5 hours, when I get out, my skin will be what?
Wrinkled and white and dry?
Absolutely, because there are effects from being in that dimension, correct?
Yes.
So when somebody tell me that they went to Nibiru and they came back, what are the hazards, the occupational hazards of that trip?
Exactly. Right.
If I go to the desert, when I come back, I'm probably going to peel.
Right.
There will be some type of residual effects of me going into this extreme. So how you talking to spirit and you just kicking it? Oh yeah, they were just talking to me. Nah, son. Every time the niggas pass through me or one walk in my house, I get a chill up my spine and I'm like, well, who is that? So when you tell me, yeah, I was in the Buru, I was talking to Inky. What was the residuals? Did you come back? Did your nose bleed? Did your hair turn white? What did you get? Did you get gas or you extra tired behind
Was you burping extra?
Yeah. Because there should be some sort of residual effects of you being in another dimension. Dimension means that you're in another something that has parameters.
So a new woman says, I wouldn't be a good candidate for initiation.
Well, that's her. Listen, man, I ain't trying to sell nothing. We are not missionaries. I don't want nobody else to have no Orisha. I'd like to keep it just to myself, right? That's how I know when they be trying to get me to come to some country, oh, you should come, it's so great. If it's so great, why are you telling me? Because I sure enough wouldn't be telling your stupid ass. I don't want the rest of you niggas coming over here, right? If I find the store that sells the fucking $2 polo, I ain't fitting tell you. I'm going to get all the polo I can get, and then I'm going to tell you, like, oh, the store's about to close. You should go over there. They got $2 polo. But I ain't fitting to tell you before that.
So okay, before I get into that, we've been talking, you said a few times about being possessed, okay? I'm going to tell my story, right? Before I even got initiated, I got possessed. It was crazy. The person was just singing a song, and something, oh yeah, came down, and honey, it was like a beautiful altar sitting there. It had candles and food, and it was beautiful. Flowers. It was, and I wanted to knock that shit down. I was screaming. I wanted my voice to blow that shit out the fucking. I screamed so loud. I was hoping my voice would blow everything off the. I wanted my actual. I remember thinking this. I wanted to be able to scream and loud enough for everything to shatter. And I knocked a few shit down. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm-hmm.
can't, I can't tell you whatever happened after that. You know what I'm saying? But I just know that the beginning of it was that it was a scream. It was me what in my mind, like I want to knock this shit down. It was very destructive. I don't know. I can't describe it. And
Well,
then I had another situation where after my year in white, somebody was talking to me a certain way, and it was like something came over me. It wasn't even we weren't at a bimbe or nothing. It was just somebody was talking to me crazy. And at first I was being very calm and like, okay, 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 okay. And then something just said, roof. And I said, fuck this shit. And I ripped everything down. But it was very controlled. I didn't rip certain shit down. It was like almost like a thing where don't fuck that up, but fuck this up over here. That was crazy. It was like, fuck that up, fuck this up. No, get away from that. I woke up and I was bleeding
well,
and
see,
didn't even feel it. I had punctured myself. The actual camera thing had put a hole into my leg, and I didn't even. I was like bleeding all over the place and didn't feel it. It was I didn't, and then I just like wiped it off. And I was like, okay. And they were people. Everybody was afraid because they were like, what the fuck? Like she just that whole
now
thing.
possession is never the first. Like the first, I shouldn't say yeah. It's in the beginnings of possession. It's never It don't look pretty because it's the equivalent of a. They say like a newborn child, but not a child like an animal. You ever see like a giraffe, a newborn giraffe, and they try to get up and they stumble and they're just a mess. Well, that's what happens when the spirit enters your body because it has no context to control your body the way you do because it's your body, right? You've learned how to coordinate your body and walk and crawl and jump and run and do these different things, right? So when spirit enters the body, again, remember they have to deal with memory. And so when they deal with memory, this is why, and if you go to a toke or a drumming and somebody gets possessed, they have to open the eyes of the possessed person because it's not their body. Because you were born deaf, dumb, and blind. And every time they enter your body, they're born deaf, dumb, and blind. So you have to open their eyes and get them to speak. And so this transition happens when the person is able to accept the 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 foreign consciousness and submit to it. So this is why they refer to it as a horse, and the Orisha is taming the horse, so to speak, to that. At some point, the horse and the rider become one. And so, in the beginnings of possession, it's never, and that's the problem. A lot of people don't like to go through it because they don't like the ridicule. But what ends up happening is now you got this consciousness inside your brain that hasn't been able to express itself, and will begin to necessarily lean on you. And so now you having these psychotic episodes and shit like that because you're not allowing this other personality or this other consciousness to express itself in the physical.
And
And
it
you made
just
a
like it
contract.
explodes up out of you in some kind of crazy way.
Well, it has to be cultivated, like again, like a horse. When you ride the horse, it's just not natural. So you have to tame the horse. And so it's up to your elders that when you get possessed, the people around you begin to cultivate that horse, right? So that they cultivate the horse, that the horse understands that there are limitations here. In the horses, I mean, in the Orisha's world, they could chop you in the neck and they ain't going to jail. They ain't gonna have no problem. But
Yeah.
we have other circumstances here, and you have to alert them to that, so that they do not do something that you end up paying for.
Man,
Okay.
let me tell, like I said, I tell you, like that I woke up out of that, whatever the hell it was, because I just snapped and I just like, just, I was fucking my own shit up. I was fucking up my whole entire studio. But it wasn't like there was it was just an argument that was happening. And that's probably because I don't know. Whatever it was an argument that was happening. And this has never happened to me before where I just snap like this. And honey, I ripped everything down. And like I said, by the time I woke up, I had a freaking like you have like those like lights that if you have like a studio, a video studio, those lights that have like those the thing that goes around the light, like the cloth around the light, the actual thing that goes that makes the cloth like be a shape was inside of my leg, and I had to pull it out, and I was like bleeding, but I didn't even feel it. It was crazy. I didn't even feel myself. I like was hurting myself, but didn't even feel it. I didn't even feel it. I was like, okay, well, and it was crazy, and I was like, oh my god, like what the hell just happened? You know what I'm saying? So
But that's the nature of Oya. Oya is destructive.
yeah, but it was like a weird controlled destruction. Like don't. It was saying not that. It was weird. I can't just.
No, but if you've ever seen a cyclone or a tornado, that like it looks random, but then that should be having a path that it go on, and so that's the nature of Oya. And so that over time, you might not be a horse. It might have been just her letting you know that she was there, right? Because that's something that happens sometimes too. That we should be like, well, I'm gonna let you know that I'm really here. So if you have any doubts because you didn't get possessed like such and such, well, I'm gonna show you, right?
Yeah, I didn't get to do my drumming. So, but it come. That's a scary thing. If you don't get, so let's go into initiation and done the correct way. Because if you don't get all that stuff done right, and one initiation is important. If you don't get everything done correctly, then some shit like that can go down. Somebody be talking to you
Well,
crazy.
Listen. So, okay, what's important in the initiation is that all of the things that are required in the initiation are present. There is the proper amount of participants. There are the proper offerings given to the Orishas, right? And that when it comes to what we call your ita, your life reading, that the person that is throwing the shells is culturally astute and can really interpret what you're really truly going through. You understand? Um, that's the biggest. Those are the main things that you want to necessarily be very clear about. So, like, if you're going and looking for an Ocha house to join, you want to hear what kind of reputation they got. Like, and don't take the human things and impart them to the ethereal things. Meaning that people think that their godparents are their parents, and nah, I'm not your damn parent. I'm not here to coddle you. And when you enter in here, you're not whatever age you are. You ain't that age. You are the age of your initiation and your information in here. And so you have to
Let's
respect
yeah,
hierarchy.
let's get into that. Let's get into one thing that you told me. You said that we have never gone through a rites of passage. I want to show a video right quick of something. This is a ceremony that kids are given, normally. And
I'm
this
gonna
is
turn
like,
my camera off because I can smoke my cigarette. But that.
no, go ahead and smoke your cigarette.
Right.
It's all good. It's all good. So this is a child. This is normally what happens when a child is born. They put the baby's feet into the thing. It's called itefa. Okay. And there is
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. But again, Ifa is not the religion, and it's not. It don't have. It's not the custom. It's fairly new to the custom. So this is one way that they do it, but they also have like what I went through wasn't with E5, it was with the lagoon. The Orishas spoke for me. Feel me?
Okay, so if you're a baby in the regular Osha, what happens in the itefa for that? What's the difference?
Well, understand that was something that was lost in Cuba. They didn't have that luxury. When African Americans came across these traditions, and they were because the African Americans were really the glue between Yoruba land and Cuba. Today, you're gonna see a lot of mestizo people going to Nigeria now, but there was a time when they thought that they made this shit up, right? And they didn't respect Africa. So the Black Americans, Baba Lloyd, Ibaye Tanu, Baba Bernard, Father Alfred and them thought that the children should have some sort of ceremony, and they
You can
came
bring
up
your
with
camera up. I don't care if you smoke a cigarette. Go ahead.
okay, and
I want to see your face. Go ahead. We love to
they
see you.
wanted they wanted to have a ceremony that would assure the children a destiny in life, and so they got it from I want to say it was Adipola. It was a Yoruba drummer or poet, and my uncle took him home to my grandmother because he was intrigued that my uncle was an Ibeji. He was a twin. So they came up with this system of a naming ceremony where they would appropriate Egun to announce to Egun that the child is no longer a part of the land of the dead. And then they have these plates that they present to the child, and these are the different things that the child will taste to taste life, so that the child tastes life in the presence of their elders in their congregation, right? And the name, a Yoruba name, was given to us, and that name is a story. It talks about what your destiny is. Okay, um, that is not something that the Cubans had. They did not have that ritual. That was something that was inserted in America by way of African Americans in their close proximity to dealing with the Yoruba people. You understand?
Mm, mm, yeah.
And so, and I'm like, if you talk to any one of my cousins that are older or younger than me, they'll tell you I've been very, very, very interested in all of this all my life. So I've read all of the historical books. Like, you got a bunch of people, they be like, oh, they got all the John Mason books. You go in their house, but they ain't read none of them shits. I be at his house bugging his ass. Like, yo, what this mean? He'd be like, oh, man, read the book. I'm like, nigga, I read the book. He's like, okay, okay, okay. And then we have a conversation, right? Um, And so I've seen this thing evolve the way and how it's gotten to be where it is. Unfortunately, today, right now, we are in the influx of a lot of mestizo people from South America involving themselves in these traditions from Mexico, Venezuela, El Salvador, Honduras. And they don't have the racial sensitivity yet because you have epithets for black people that you call us mayates, and then you want to worship Orisha, but how does that work? Because you don't have a uh, a lineage. You can't go back into somebody that was black in your food. You know what I'm saying? So that you even have any
Right.
you know what I'm saying, any legitimacy to any of this. But I say all of that to say that there's this video floating around on TikTok with the cartel people were sacrificing a tiger to Shango, and I was appalled. And I was like,
A
first of
tiger.
all, yeah, first of all, tigers are not native to Africa. That's
Wasn't
number
a
one.
leopard? Like,
No, it was a tiger.
oh Lord, it's Chinese, isn't it Chinese?
Right. And the fact that you did this on camera says that you're putting the rest of us in danger. You're telling the world that we kill endangered species. So now every time we're doing something, that they got to make sure there ain't no tiger in here.
Right, right,
You
right.
understand? Um, why did you put it on tape? Like, again, your motives are not uh they're not honorable. Your motives are to seek power and to display how bad of a motherfucker you are. But that's the bullshit because Shango don't
Right,
eat no fucking tiger. What are you talking
right,
about?
right. And does he eat a leopard or does he just wear the leopard?
Nah, listen. At this point, the things that we feed to Ocho are livestock, right? Because we have, again, in Cariocha we have a system. So there's certain songs that are sung when certain things are done. So when they cut the head of the tiger off, what you singing? Because there ain't no song for that. And again, you are asking for the people who you do not see to recognize what you're doing. So they don't know nothing about no fucking tiger. They looking at these niggas like, what are y'all doing? What is that?
So they clearly have not been initiated. They are doing stuff of their own volition. That is the danger of like not being initiated and being initiated because I
No,
know I
they're
was
initiated, but they're initiated by somebody that will allow them to bend the rules based on some money. Like, You couldn't tell me, like one of my godchildren couldn't tell me, yo, Padrino, I'm gonna feed a tiger to Shango. I'm gonna be like, yo, go home, son. Throw all that shit out. Go do something else. Because I'm not fitting to co-sign that. And every time somebody talk about it, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that dumbass guy's on my mind. He's a jerk.
And let me tell you something. I was talking to a guy who was talking about how he always talked to his elder and how the elders always cursing him out. I'm like, well, guess what? That's what they kind of do that.
Yeah,
They
because
don't.
you know what though? There is a method in that, right? That some kind of hard love, because see, this society right now is absent of male energy, right? And that's something that your daddy or your uncles and them give you. Like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? Right? They're not just fitting to let you show off and be shaking your ass. They be like, yo, what are you doing? Right? And that energy is missing from society as a whole. So I had this problem with grown men. Like, don't come in here thinking that you whatever age you are. If I ask you to do something, don't be, yo, man, I'm a grown ass man. Then take your grown ass somewhere the fuck else. Because right now you're here to learn. And right now, the seriousness of what we're doing is because we're dealing with somebody's life. There might be their health, their circumstances, their destiny. I don't need you just giving me what you want to give me. If you're not here to give 100%, get the fuck on out.
And there ain't no nice way to say that.
Nah. And if you can't accept that and not get in your feelings, then you need some therapy.
Let's get into initiation. So some people say, well, I'm self-initiated, right?
Whatever. How you self-initiate. We have a saying, a knife cannot carve its own handle. Riddle me that. Knife can't carve its own handle. How you going to initiate and qualify yourself? That's like me going to the gym and being like, yeah, I be putting in work, but I just go over and I get the 5-pound dumbbell and do a couple reps, do 10 reps, and then I get out the gym. What? What are you talking about? No, I need somebody to be like, not to push me, to see where my potential is, correct? So how you going to initiate yourself? I'm just wondering. And the arrogance of that. Feel me? Just like you telling me that I'm a vice lord and you just initiated yourself into vice lords. Get the fuck out of here. You better bounce. What are you talking about? That is the arrogance of slave intelligence. You heard?
So a person, yeah. So say if they say, okay, well, I feel like I'm in touch with Oshun. I have Oshun within me, and
you don't know Oshun. You don't know Oshun. Why? You learned it from the internet. The internet don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
I read some books about Oshun.
Again, this is an oral tradition. How did you learn something that was oral, literal?
Right. And
they can't tell you what that feeling is like. They can't identify that feeling for you when it's really truly Oshun. I can tell you that if I go to a drumming and somebody's truly possessed with some Orisha, they got like an exoskeleton. I want to say about 3 to 5 feet from off their body. You can feel them motherfuckers. Excuse me. You can feel them. Like they get to walking through and you be like, they could be behind you. Be like, oh, what the fuck is that? And you turn around and there's one of them Orishas walking by because that energy is emanating. Right? So how you know that when you've never experienced it and there's nobody else there to guide you through it?
Yeah. Or to know what it looks like. To see. Well, I know when you can't tell somebody what is meant to be mounted unless you've been mounted and said, okay.
So there's certain things. So boom, we had the drumming and you went, because there are people who have attention seeking behavior, right? So they're gonna get on the floor, they'll be jumping around, right? Okay. And then there's certain things that we're gonna do. Now, if they don't respond to it, then we know that's not that energy.
Right. They're just same way in the Christian church, right? You have people like just dancing on the side, right? But I
Yeah,
know
but
that even Oya, when she gets up, because I know at one point in my initiation, I thank God I didn't have a real machete, because I think I would have stabbed, because I stabbed somebody. I don't know who it was, but I stabbed the shit out of somebody. And
so understand this. So, but somebody, I'm at a drum in and somebody want to get possessed. And they want to, like I said, they want attention. And I'm not sure about this possession, right? I'm going to test them by what I say. The language is like computer language. I don't give a fuck whether or not you know it or not. If I speak that shit to you, to the possessed deity, they're going to know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
right,
So back in the
yeah,
days, they would test people. They would stick you with a pin, right? And if you were ouch, they would beat you up and throw you out.
beat you up,
Yeah. You know why? Because people rely on this.
and you know what? Yeah,
I came here to ask my gods a question. If you got touched, that's fine. You got touched. But if you're impersonating them, then you're putting my destiny at hand. Because now you're giving me false information.
yeah, because a lot of times when you get mounted, the thing that comes after that is the message that of the mounted
It's
person
the
that.
only reason why this is what makes our tradition so very good is that we get a chance to interface with our gods. We get to eat, drink, and party with them and ask them questions. They're accountable. Yo, bro, I put some apples down for you. What the fuck is going on? You understand? So that the realest shit that I've ever seen is a motherfucker done did some work and went to the Bembe, and then they got to the Bembe, and Orisha was like, "Hey, man, thank you for the food." And he was like, "Oh shit, how did you know that?" Because that was the energy, for real, for real. Of all the Orishas I had in my house, you knew that I fed this one. Okay, your shit is your intent is up to par. Now, because of that, I salute that Orisha to show everybody else here in the room that this shit is real. I'm putting my crown down to affirm that this person is really possessed or really got some ultra.
So, what do you think is the difference between like a Christian, like when a person gets the Holy Spirit, versus a person that get mounted by the Spirit and
See,
whatnot?
but the thing is, you don't know what those spirits are. So, okay, what happened is when you got initiated, there's things that I'm not going to go into, but in our initiation, there's filter systems to make sure that the stuff that come out the earth don't come out bad.
Mm.
Again, you have a name. So when you make Ocha, whatever that Ocha name is, that's how they call you back. So
Mm.
somebody that's just jumping around. So in spirit are very crafty. So I could, for instance, there's a thing when the person is coming back, you try to get them to come because the spirit takes the time to acclimate. It takes the time to listen to the people and try to acclimate to become one of us. So immediately when you coming back, I'm like, yo, such and such, such and such, such and such. So they be like, yeah, it's me. And then they have to exhibit something that I know that they do that the deity don't do.
Mm.
You understand?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, like I said, you come in here and you want to get attention and you want to be seen by everybody, but you want to be fake possessed. And I figure out that you're not really possessed. I have the right to beat your ass. Get the fuck out of here. Because
Right.
there's
Stop
nothing,
playing.
there's no shame in you just getting touched. Somebody get touched, they get the convulsing, and they be like, that shit went through them, right? Some people get mounted, and they allow that shit to profess itself through them, and they manifest it and they exhibit it.
What does the word Orisha mean? Since there are many.
What is the word Orisha?
Yeah.
Well, John Mason defines it as selected head. I don't necessarily agree with that too much. I think that it has to do with the fact that there's only really four Orishas. Everything else is Ocha. Right? The Orishas are the ones that go onto the head and they bounce on the head evenly. Obatalaya Mayao Shunchango. Everything else is Ocha. These are things that are a little bit more rustic, that require a little bit more apprehensiveness when approaching them.
Mm. So my head being Oya is a Ocha, not a Orisha.
Yeah, she's one of the Ochas because Oya was integral, but we had to do certain things for Oya to come into the Igbo do, as we say. So this is why you have what they call a sarasa, the way they have to appease Egun, because Oya, when opening that gate, with her comes a whole lot of spirits. And so we have to be able to differentiate the spirits from her. And so this is why we give them their own thing, and they call that the sarasa, where Egun is set, so that every morning can go and salute them, and they stay where they are, and she goes where she goes. Right?
Shame. Ain't no Academy Awards for getting possessed.
No, it's the truth. Man, you'll know because you'll go somewhere on Saturday they got possessed, and then on Sunday they got possessed. The possession is not easy. It's not something that you just be going. It's not an exercise. It's something that shit is real. It's a toll. First of all, it takes a toll on your psyche because you lose time, right? So I walked in the door at 3:00 in the afternoon, and I got possession, and now it's 12 something, and I didn't see nobody, right? And I'm like, yo, what time is it? They're like, oh, and everybody's going home. I'm fucked up. That should throw my whole fucking time thing off.
Right? Wow. And you know what? Man, that's crazy. It does let you lose time. And the weirdest thing is the inability to feel nothing. Well, that part was crazy because I was like, I stabbed myself.
Right, but see again. So you ever seen that movie Split?
Yeah, Split.
Okay, so he has all these different personalities, and each one of them changes his biochemical physique. Right? They had one that had diabetes, and it was showing diabetic, and then when the other ones come, they're not. And so they got this thing he calls the beast, and the beast is from someplace else, and the beast does not respect the laws of this reality. So the beast could crawl up the wall, it's gonna break shit and do things that you human beings can't do because he's not subject to these laws, right? Well, it's the same thing with the Orishas. The Orishas are not subject to the laws. So while they're still attached to you, you don't feel the pain because they don't feel pain.
Yeah, but I didn't feel it afterwards either. That's the weird part.
Listen, baby girl, I've been possessed where I got possessed in Palo, and the Egun put the machete in my mouth, and he jumped through my godfather's legs and just cut my mouth this way. And by the end of the drumming, there was no scar. Okay, I promise you that there's no explanation for it. Don't even try to figure it out.
I'm sorry, because I was like, I didn't feel that shit, and everybody else around me, because this was not a drumming. This was just people pissing me off, and they're like, you're bleeding, and I'm like, oh, okay, and I ripped the thing out my leg and threw it off to the side. Like fucking crazy. And I'm like, and I just kept going. Like, okay, I put like the thing on it, and I just kept didn't feel nothing. And I said, what the fuck happened? What was that? And now that I'm talking to you, I know that was a possession. That's crazy.
Somebody says they can't hear anything.
You can't hear anything at all.
You can hear me, right?
I mean, people have been they've been responding.
Yeah, I don't know. He got to get his Wi-Fi together.
Go ahead and get your Wi-Fi together. Yeah. So here, let me go into one more thing. So we got into the importance of initiation. You talked about the importance of because I tried to show the what I thought was a rite of passage. You talked to me about rite of passage. You said, listen, rite of passage. So let's go.
Rite of passage. So the rite of passage is there to evaluate you in the society so that we know who to send to war and who to help make, the bombs, so that we qualify everybody for what they're good at. In the Americas, we've lost this rites of passage. The only rites of passage we have today is a baby shower, right? At the baby shower, they get the big chair and the girl sit in the chair and everybody putting money on her. And she's almost like the Cariocha system of her being the main focus and attention. Now, for those who in the difference between Isheshe and Lukumi, in Lukumi, there was a psychological part that is integrated, which is the idea that when you are becoming initiated to Orisha, you are becoming royalty. So for the next 7 days, you are the royalty. You are treated like royalty. You are bathed. You're served, right? Now, in Cuba, they made it so that you look like the person in charge. So this is why they have the puffy, shoulders, because the conquistador nigga is the nigga that's running the plantation, right? So we understand that garments and regalia psychologically affect people. So when you put this thing on, you representing the Orisha on earth, so that the congregation gets to see Orisha in real life. This person has Shango made, and now he's dressed up like Shango, and we're coming to salute Shango as our king. Now, those 7 days you are treated like royalty, so that you know that you have a certain standard of how you're supposed to be treated in the world. Yes? Okay?
Check. Yep, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, now, if you go Ishe, they're going to parade you around their little town. You ain't going to get no nice clothes that you're going to get buried in. Right? Because they don't understand the psychological necessity for us to have that branded on our brain. Right? And so then there's the concept of the things that go with the Kariotis ceremony, the things that we were initiated with. And inside the room there is a table of commodities, of attribute or condiments, so to speak. So on this table there will be palm oil, there'll be guinea peppers, there'll be crushed up hutia and fish, or bushrat and fish. There'll be alligator peppers. There will be wine. There will be ocean water or river water. There will be cocoa butter. There will be molasses. There will be honey. There will be ephum, cotton, right? All of these different things that are on that table are something that black people were sold into slavery over.
Yes. Wow.
They do not have that in the Sheshe because that is not their experience. So we are giving the gods those things that men sold us over. We give them as condiments to the Orisha when we're birthing them. Okay? So that we have palm oil and all these different things. That is a standard. Like if you go into an ultra room in Lukumi and they don't have a table, and that table don't have a white sheet on it, and don't have all the accoutrements on it, get out of it. Okay? Because that station of the person who runs that table is very important. Because the Orient table, like, I need this. And that person, after a while, they know the order of those things, that they'll be right there on time. So when I come back, they're going to give me the next thing. Right?
Right. So
like a surgeon.
It's surgeon. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay? These are the midwives to me performing this birth. Okay? And so
initiation is giving birth. Like, just like you're born again a Christian, you are born again
and you go through all of the rites. You go through an aquatic renewal with a bath, right? Then you're shaved, where you're being released of all of your transgressions that you've accumulated over time.
And babies ain't got no hair.
That's why they don't have no transgressions. Feel me? And so this is why it's taken off to be back to be bald, and then a signature is painted on you. You ordered Domino's?
Yeah, bitch.
And so what happens is, in this ceremony, you're being born again. And then you're being born into the deity. And that deity will come with a name. Okay? And with this name, it comes with all of its taboos. Just like Superman got his taboos. He can't fuck with kryptonite.
Right. So Christianity got 10 commandments. You got like about how many you got taboos?
Right. And then you can do them if you want, but they're there to necessarily help you along, because there might be something that they're telling you that you shouldn't eat, that later on it might save your life. Right. But if you take something in the interim all the time, then it won't have the effects that you require.
If it says don't eat eggs, right? Don't eat eggs, don't eat eggs, don't eat eggs. And so that's part of your thing. And then maybe at one point eat an egg. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there might come a time when now that they're divining, and you might have some ailment. And then if it comes out and they say, yo, you don't eat eggs? And they're like, nah. And they're like, okay, see, this is what is required. And then now it becomes that thing that would necessarily help you, right? Because you don't overdo medicine, or else it won't have any effect.
That's a good point, man. Wow.
She said all
Understanding
babies
the
now,
taboo.
but yeah, but the fact that your babies were born with full head of hair is an omen. That's a specific birth that is recognized within Yoruba land that recognize a child that we call Dada.
Right. So when they have a full head of hair, that's a special thing. That's like
Yeah, that
something.
these are children of miraculous birth. They have miraculous circumstances to their birth. So twins are miraculous birth. Two different seeds germinating within you. That's a miraculous thing. A child born with the cord wrapped around their neck is a miraculous birth. Child born feet first is a miraculous birth. Right? A child born with 6 fingers is a miraculous birth. Okay?
You know, yeah, yeah. I wanted to show something real quick, because Ibaing to my Ayobona's husband. See, this is so I was sitting on my throne, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens during initiation is that they, at some point after initiation, the community comes and everybody like comes to greet the Orisha, and they greet you, and you see the love in his face. This is their first time seeing their deity in flesh, right?
Right, you're getting to see the Orisha in real time. Right? See, the thing about it is that nobody says that this religion is better than other. We're talking about the symbolism and how things are perceived, right? Jesus Christ is all good and dandy, but don't show me Jesus Christ on the cross, right? Because you're asking me to ask a man who can't help himself for help. You
Yeah.
get that?
Yep.
So this nigga got fucking nails in his hands. He can't even scratch his balls. You standing in there kneeling to him talking about help me, sir. Man, help that nigga. Now, if you show me Jesus and the nigga got the cape, he got the sword, he drinking out the chalice, that's my man. I fucks with him. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Don't show me a nigga want to, because that would be the equivalent of you coming to me, Monica, and you saying, "Oh, but I'm homeless." I'd be like, "I come get in the car," and I drive you to the gas station, and I introduce you to the bum in the street. I'd be like, "Yo, she homeless." He'd be like, "What the fuck you telling me for?"
Right.
Well, that's the same thing with the symbolism of Jesus that they give to niggas. This nigga is on a cross with a fucking thorn of crowns bleeding, and you telling him to help you. Man, help that nigga. Get a hammer and take them nails off this nigga fucking hand. So it's the symbolism. It's what they show you to affect you. Because, right, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words and a symbol's worth 1,000 pictures.
Mm.
So, again, it's not what you're doing. So this is why spiritualism doesn't allow me. I don't throw Jesus away. I deal with Jesus on the spiritual level, right?
I was told to go to church. I was told go to church.
This because we respect the house that is built just for God. We respect that. Okay? We ain't telling you that he don't live there, but he live in my house too, because I got a bunch of Orisha in this motherfucker. Feel me? So the idea is that to be Lukumi, one is a spiritualist, one may have some kind of Congo initiation, and then be an initiate to Orisha. That's what makes one Lukumi in the concept. Okay?
Okay.
Because without the glass of water, what are you doing? Because we have a saying, "Iku se lo biocha." Death gave birth to the living or to the Orishas, right? And the
Like the
cycle
darkness
is
gave birth to the light, right? I like it.
no. So the wheel is Iku se lo biocha. The dead gave birth to the Orishas. Ocha se lobi Ifa. The Orishas gave birth to divination. Ifa se lobi Osai. And the divination gave birth to medicine.
Right, medicine.
Yeah, Osai is medicine.
Right, sign the herbs. Right, exactly. And were the Orishas the original doctors? Not the Orishas. Not were the Olorishas, the Babalao, the Obas. Were they the doctors of the time in that society? Were they the?
Well, see, again, you can't really, like, it's not in good taste to try to necessarily impose um constructs on something that we didn't really get a chance to see in its earnesty. meaning that. So you have to understand that Orisha initiation in that time in Yoruba land had different connotations. So some people were initiated that they can only help participate in feeding the Orishas. Some people were only initiated that they can participate in certain parts of the Orishas. Some people can go inside the room and touch the Orishas, which is different.